My people, what up though? We back with another episode of All Black Men Need Therapy. My name is Chief.
I'm Bell.
My name is Prentice.
And the show is about to get started. Fellas, we still rocking. It's been a while now. We've been consistent as hell.
Consistent than a motherfucker.
Word. You know what I'm saying? Man. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to Prentice. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Prentice because he be the one holding us back. Anyways, yo, P, check in, man.
Well, first of all, that shit ain't true. Yes, it is. It's true. I'm all right, man. You know, fatherhood is not fun right now. I'm good, but fatherhood isn't fun right now. You kind of feel me? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yes.
Nothing's wrong, but this shit ain't fun right now. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not fun. That's the first thing that came to mind. Other than that, I'm healthy, man. About to get back on the road performing. About to get out to Arizona for a bit and do some shows, man, and get rocking. But other than that, you know, fatherhood is some bullshit right now. So that's my answer.
So I'm gonna go right now, Bell. You can check in after. So just in the same sentiment, like about being on the road, I jumped on the first leg of this little run I got going today. Had a gig in Jersey. It was pretty dope, man. Like kids were when I say hella receptive, I'm talking like hella receptive. And the good part of, I think what I realized afterwards was it was the first time that they had all been together since the pandemic. So when they all walked in the auditorium, it was just like they were just happy to be, you know what I'm saying? To be in a space, you know what I'm saying, in the same space together. So that was cool, but the energy was live. It was dope. I rocked the joint. The superintendent came up after on the mic and was like crying, thanking me for like inspiring the kids. It was real dope. And then
Congrats, man.
No word, appreciate you. And then like you, man, I had to make some tough choices today. And ultimately, the choices I made are going to impact certain people's lives in ways that may not be beneficial for them. Mm-hmm. But I did it at the expense of protecting my peace, my sanity, my safety, and you know it's a tough call to make. But at the end of the day, we have to make those tough decisions as men, and it's real shitty. And it's real shitty.
What we talked about.
Yeah, and it's real shitty and it's weighing on you, but you know, you can only go but so far. You know what I'm saying? And at some point you gotta draw your line in the sand and you gotta stand firm in it. And I keep moving my line back and people just become habitual line steppers. And you know what I'm saying? And that ain't, you know, yeah, and that shit don't fly. But that's where I'm at with that. So at that essence, you know, some things aren't fun when you have to make those decisions, but they're necessary to be made. Go ahead.
I didn't know you made a decision, so we gotta catch up on that. I'm good, man. Coming off vacation. I was just in Cancun last week. Really good time.
A la playa.
It was nice, man. It was a little colder in relatively cold in Cancun than what we used to for this time of year. You know what I'm saying? But it was good. It was a good time. I still got, like I'm saying, like the party boy voice a little bit.
You was out there getting what they call it, white boy wasted.
The first night I got smacked, man. We had a little 80s party.
Yo, what's the equivalent to white boy wasted for black people? Fuck up.
I say
that was fucked up.
Or bent or
twisted.
Twisted. That's another go on. But yeah, man, I got that first night I got literally I didn't get out of bed the next day. I was in the bed all day the next day.
Was on vacation. I mean, that's supposed to be on vacation. I think personally, one of the vacation days should be spent doing nothing. You know what I mean?
It's different between a nothing day and a hangover nothing day.
Right. True. Very true.
Right.
Very true.
Right.
Very true.
Yeah, man. I was ordered room service. Couldn't even eat it. Like I was hurt, man. I was hurt, man. But you know,
yeah, you was done. You couldn't eat the room service. Ain't the next day hangover food like important?
Yeah, this how you know I was messed up. I'm in Mexico and I ordered chicken soup. Like Like that's how messed up I was today. That ordered chicken noodle soup, man.
So so something like this part of the check-in is dope for me. Y'all people, do y'all mess with the check-ins or should we just get right into the show? You know what I'm saying? Because these check-ins be doing me good. You know what I'm saying?
The check-in. I don't give a damn what they feel about the
Good point. Good point. Should we put the check-ins at the back of the show? Or what? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit is funny. Wow.
Hey, it's a trip how this hangover shit and alcohol fucks with you at this age now, but it's so different. I didn't have a hangover until 3 o'clock. I drank last night like crazy and didn't have a hangover until 3 o'clock this afternoon. It hit me this afternoon.
I don't even know what that feels like.
If you would have woke up and kept drinking, you might not have got one.
You know what? Sarai tried to give me another shot at Crown. I was like, if you don't get that shit out of my face.
Yeah, man. It was dope though. It was the first time we've been back in Cancun as a company in 2 years. So it was cool to get back with everybody. And that's what happened that first night. You ain't see people in a while, and then get to talking and drinking, and all of that.
Yo, you still tap in with old boy from the wedding? Old boy from the wedding.
Oh yeah, that's my guy. He part of a different company now, but that's my guy. Yeah, okay. Always. They went the week before we went.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's my guy. I basically raised him. So, bittersweet though, man. My man Quiles passed away last week, and his service was while I was in Mexico, so I wasn't able to attend.
For the picture. Rest in peace, Cooley. Yeah,
man. That was tough, but yeah, man. Life is short, man. It's part of my check-in too. Like, and I won't go into his story and nothing like that. But for those who know him, they knew like my man really turned his whole life around, and you just never know. Like, it was a freak accident the way he passed, and that's why we gotta celebrate life, man, and do a better job of appreciating who we have here while we have them, because you really don't know. Like, freak accident, like a freak accident. You know what I'm saying? And you can't. There's no way to plan for that. There's no way to prepare for that. Which is why when we lose somebody that's close to us, all we have is memories. So as we get older, my focus is just to continue to create memories. You know what I'm saying? Fortunately, the last memory I had was at my cousin's wedding. We all spent a lot of time together, and that was just a couple months ago. So that was really, really cool. But yeah, that's my check-in. Fresh off vacation.
And take wild pictures too during these creation of memories. Take wild pictures, be like, just cause you don't like them, just get some pictures.
I'm putting Gloria in charge of that when we go to Houston. Like, look, man, if you don't got a camera on your phone snapping pictures, you gotta go.
Right.
Simple as that.
Anywho. All right, so today's topic, the growth, the healing, the recognition of the growth in process, I guess. So Prentice spearheaded this one, and I guess it's more so the essence of when you recognize you were growing. Does it start with making an effort to intentionally grow? Or does this just, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because it's double-edged sword. Like, if you realize one day, like, yo, I didn't respond to that the way I normally would. That's also a sign of growth, but it may not have been intentional. You know what I'm saying? You might have just grew up a little bit, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So, P, you lead the way. What was your first recognition of, yo, I've grown up a little bit?
Well, let me give y'all some context, man, because I was thinking from the space of, once you decide there's something that you want to change, I think, like me, I'll speak for myself. Once I decided something I want to change, something I want to alter, I do some research. You know what I mean? Like, I try to find somebody talking about it. I try to find something that's relatable to whatever's going on in my head, right? And I notice that sometimes society kind of throws us these images of growth that don't necessarily correlate with my life. You know what I mean? So I see these examples of growth or hear these stories of growth, but I can't necessarily relate because my life isn't like that. So I wanted to ask y'all, because I know during my process that I've been able to identify areas where I definitely am changing and growing because, like you said, it may be a situation where I just didn't respond to it the same way I would have a previous time. But I think sometimes, like listeners, people on the journey and people supporting us, I think it would be dope if we kind of highlighted certain areas or certain things that happened in our life where we realized we were growing in that moment that may help other people realize they may be progressing a little more than they realize.
Okay, so when you say that,
that was hella long-winded, but
it made sense. No, it wasn't. It made sense. So when you say that, the first thing that comes to mind for me is previous toxic relationships, I guess, that I would let a lot of maybe through text messaging, a lot of little comments throw me left. And there's no real interpretation. You can't hear voice and text. You interpret it how you want to interpret it. And I would instantly get offensive and then go in and go back and forth. And I got to a point where it didn't matter what was sent to me. I wasn't responding with that same energy I was. You know what I'm saying? It was after several conversations with my guys about, what do y'all think? Blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? How do I navigate through this and whatever? But I know for me, I definitely caught those moments where I would typically respond in a certain way, where I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna give this energy. I got to a point where when I would see the text was longer than what I wanted to read, I wouldn't even read it. I would just delete it. But that was a way of saving me from engaging in that negative banter. You know what I'm saying? And now I could read that whole exchange. It doesn't happen anymore, but I could read that whole exchange and be like, okay. And that's the end of it. There's no way for me to feed into that. And I think that was definitely a huge recognition for me in terms of growth and being able to channel my emotions and not let anyone control it anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because oftentimes we are victims of allowing people to control how we respond. You ever hear people like, people, they took me out of character?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And essentially sometimes like that is your character, bro. Cool out. You know what I'm saying? But you can always mend, grow, and adjust your character based on certain circumstances. And I think I've become like almost a master at that, being able to catch myself now in the moment and respond effectively.
So
yeah, what about you?
This is interesting. So as y'all talking and I'm listening, obviously I knew what the topic was before we got on, but when I think about growth, right, the first thing that comes to my mind is like pain, right? Like, because anytime you grow, think about working out, you grow your muscles, right? You think about a little kid who goes through a growth spurt over the summer, right? There's going to be pain associated with growth. Right. Growth spurts, that is like you have no control over that growth, right? That just happens to you, right? And you deal with it. Boom, right? However that comes, you deal with it. I guess my question or thoughts are around this is like, one, are we intentionally trying to grow? Right? Like that's my question. Two, are we trying to grow? Because what I also understand is this: when I and I'm speaking for myself, when I attempt to make myself better or grow in a certain area, it impacts other areas, right? So, Chief, I'm listening to you about the text messages and everything like that. Like, if that was me, and again, just me, hindsight's always 2020, right? But if I would look at a situation and I'm like, all right, I gotta improve this piece. What I also know about me is for me to grow in this area, I have to direct my attention in another one, right? Because it may be cause and effect. So it's like, all right, that's my situation, Chief. If I want to stop responding to these text messages with all this venom, like my initial thought would be, well, get that person out of my life, right? Whoever's causing that venom. But the reality is, whatever she is doing that's triggering me, that's what I have to address,
Mhm.
right? That's where I have to grow. So it's not that person. It's that person is triggering something inside of me that may be broken,
Right. Okay.
right?
So that's
Or may need some attention. So, or whatever the case. So that's where my energy now, like where I am today, right? Almost 40 years old, I can say that. In my 20s, I couldn't. Like in my
right.
20s, it'd just be, let me get this person out of my life. This person's the problem. Not realizing that, no, the problem is within me.
Right. Right. Right.
She's just in a vulnerable space with me that allows her to get me there.
So that's an even deeper layer to what I was kind of referencing regarding text messages. Like I'm looking at it like,
Yeah, I'm way deeper than you niggas. That's all.
yeah, whatever. So I'm listening to that, and that's a valid point. I think maybe perhaps subconsciously I've done some of that, but now that you put it in that specific parameter, it's kind of I'm gonna look back at it. But I want to bring another point up. So I'm in this group chat with a bunch of my guys from college, and we motivate each other to work out and blah 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 blah. So I was telling them about the situation that happened the other day with the lockdown at the school, and one of them responded with like, "Yo, I need to do better at that school." And it's like, "Yo, first
Wait,
of
with
all,
the
like,
what?
with the lockdown at my school, we had the lockdown of school 2 days in a row. There was somebody got shot up the street, so we locked the school down. And then somebody was driving by the school with like sitting out of the sunroof with like it looked like a real gun, but it's a paint gun, but we don't know. So cats drive around the school with guns. We lock the school down. So people are like, "Yo, what's going on at the high school?" Like, ain't nothing going on at the high school. It's some stuff in the neighborhood. We doing what we gotta do to keep your kids safe. But instantly, people are like attacking the high school, right? So I didn't get offended, but I was like, he said when I said it, I told him, "Yeah, school locked down again," and he was like, "Yeah, I need to do better over here." And I'm just like, nah. So I'm trying to break I'm trying to break down to him how, what I basically told you guys, but we're doing it through text messaging. And he said something along the lines of like, "Chief, you don't like stop being so sensitive." And my response was, it was like, "It's not that serious. I'm just trying to provide perspective. We need to be more compassionate towards one another. I voiced my perspective and I'm labeled sensitive versus you taking a moment to understand. And that's what we as men do." And I put all black men need therapy.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And in my circle of friends from college, like I have this stigma of like being like the angry black guy. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, and I'm just like, that's not who I am. Like I didn't perceive myself as that then, and I damn sure don't perceive myself as that now. But I'm just like, I told you I put that anger to the side. But just in how I'm talking to a group of men, like, yo, we need to be more compassionate with one another. I think for me, that was a sign of growth, because when he called me sensitive, the first thing we want to do is like, who you talking to? You know what I'm saying? We fight that, we combat that sensitivity stuff. You know, you don't get to call me sensitive. You know what I'm saying? We get like offended almost, but I'm like, you know what? Whatever. But we need to be more compassionate towards one another. So I think even in the essence of the conversation of growth, like that was a sign of growth for me. This was just last week. You know what I'm saying? Being able to check cats on like, you know what? It's cool. I'll eat that, but maybe we should all be more compassionate towards one another. Like,
Yeah.
like black men ain't talking to each other like that.
First of all, that's dope. First and foremost, right? The fact that y'all can have that dialogue as men, right? And you can then find a lesson, right, in it. But I think we could all do better, bro. And this is as a human race, is we need to get better at seeking to understand,
Right.
right? We need to get better at seeking to understand, because I was just talking. So my cousin and I, we were talking yesterday about my man's services and all of that. And you know what we do as humans? It's human nature, right? It's not no one's better than the other person, but we tend to make things about ourselves, right? We tend to make things about ourselves unconsciously sometimes, right? Most times, I'll give people the benefit of the doubt. Say most times we unconsciously make things about ourselves. When, like, we was talking about death, you know what I'm saying? And like, your first instinct is to get angry, right? Like, get angry at the person. Like, damn, man, you knew better than that shit, right? But it's like, yo, that person didn't, that wasn't their plan. You know what I'm saying? Like that the way that shit happened is the way this shit happened. That has nothing to do with you, right? Why are you getting mad at the person? Why are you getting mad at the situation? That has nothing to do with you, right? Like, you are now in mourning because of it, right? But we have to take a step back and start looking at things like, okay, let me understand that better, right? Like this triggered me. Why did this trigger me? Right? That's where the growth comes in, when you seek to understand, you know what I'm saying? Amongst each other, within yourself, because like, again, this is why we all need therapy, bro. There's a lot of unknown, man. There's a lot of unknown, right? So we might be trying to grow, Prentice, right? We might be trying to grow for potentially a superficial reason, right? Like a superficial reason we might be trying to grow. But the reality is we need to grow in an area to be more secure in ourselves, to know that the potential reality is we need to be more secure in ourselves, to know that we don't have to grow for that reason.
Mm.
I don't know if that's making sense. Like, but like I just put like, oh, I wanna get a better job so I can buy a Rolex. Right? Well, getting a better job is great. You should want to get a better job, right? But why is your motivation because of Rolex? Let's peel the layers back. Well, I've been broke my whole life, right? The most influential person I know in my life had a Rolex, right? So that's why I want to get a Rolex. Has nothing to do with the superficial reasons. It's who I aspire to be, and this is my first step in being that person, right? Seeking to understand. But somebody may be like, man, you just trying to be like them rappers.
Yeah, you don't need a Rolex. Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Well, and that's I just made that example up off the cuff, but you know what I'm saying? Like seek to understand. And I think even in that same scenario, that person that wants that Rolex may not even know why he wants that Rolex. You know what I'm saying? We got to seek to understand. That's where the growth is, man. So I know what direction we were supposed to be going with this, but like I feel like the growth has to start with seeking to understand. What are you going for? Right? Like I talked about the kid with the growth spurt. He doesn't understand. She doesn't understand what's happening. She's just here. She's just rolling with the punches. Right? There was nothing intentional about that. Like they just woke up and was taller. You know what I'm saying? Right. So when we try to intentionally grow, what is the desired outcome?
See?
I'm listening to him and I'm asking, like I'm thinking about those questions as if he's asking me like about the desired outcome. For me, sometimes I just know I don't want certain things to be what they are in the moment, and I don't know the outcome. You know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't help but think about I got 4 kids by 4 different women. So that's 4 women. And Bell said something earlier, like your first instinct when you get into conflict or something with somebody is to get rid of them. You can't do that when you co-parent. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't. You may feel that fucking way sometimes, but you can't. And I couldn't help but think about really my growth within how I interact with all 4 of these women, specifically the 3 that I'm not with. And they know how to push my buttons, not saying they do intentionally because I'm not trying to make this about them at all. What I'm saying is things are done, things are said, things happen that bother the fuck out of me. You know what I'm saying? And at a certain point in time, depending on what it had to do with, specifically if it had anything to do with what I thought was my time, I'm going whatever I gotta go, Super Saiyan, to get my point across and make sure that, they understand they ain't gonna tell me, you know, that kind of shit sometimes you get as a parent where, you like, ain't nobody, that type of thing. And what I noticed that the moment I started taking care of myself, the moment I started just focusing on me, those relationships changed drastically for me. And I say for me because I can't speak for anybody else, but I am nice to everybody all the time because I don't have a problem. And what I realized was I had to go back to those relationships and I had to deal with some things that I didn't realize were still bothering me about the relationships, and how they were shaped that dictated the energy I gave them. You know what I'm saying? And once I kind of dealt with that and was getting myself together, that shit didn't matter no more. And so no matter what you know what I'm saying? Like no matter what you think of me now, no matter what you may say about me now, I have so much more of a knowledge and healing of things that are happening of myself that it doesn't matter, which ultimately in my situation kind of I'm at a space now where I feel like if I'm the child of your father, you gotta get on board with me right now. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't front on what the fuck is going on with me right now. Like I'm on point, I'm doing my thing. You can see I'm happier because you can see the result in our child. You know what I'm saying? You can see I'm healthier because you can see the result in our child. You get what I'm saying? So I think that my growth is definitely, I can see it on a daily basis when I interact with the mothers of my children, because it's just I don't have any of the previous energy I may have had before for some of them.
Okay, so I mean,
That was just real quick, Chief. That what you just described is exactly what I said, and I didn't even know you was
right,
gonna say that.
right. I was about to make that same connection, that same connection. So, with that being said, one of the questions we asked prior to hitting record was why? Why is it important to recognize this growth as we progress?
Yo, I'm gonna get my answer quick because I want. Well, first, uh, yo, it's so easy, right, to get consumed with the final product,
Yep.
right, the finished product. Like, well, I'm not there yet. Yeah,
Mhm.
but look where you are, though.
Right.
Yep.
Right? We got to celebrate progress, man. And I feel like as Black men, we that's why I intentionally said that shit to you today, Chief, on the text message. Right? What I say.
Proud of me.
Exactly.
Right.
That stood out. I seen that. That stood out.
Right? Because I am, yo. Like, it's crazy because I'm like starting to get emotional. But
Look
like,
at you, nigga, being honest about shit.
nah,
Let's
word.
go.
Nah, I'm gonna tell you why, yo. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna be vulnerable. Cause I be on this nigga, man. I be pressing him. I be pressing Chief, right? On everything. Like, and granted, he calls me and asks me and we talk, but like just like financial decisions he makes, you know what I'm saying? And the moves he makes, and you know what I'm saying, and getting out of the school and all of that. And I be pressing him, you know what I'm saying? And to see you on this tour that you got, man, that's, you know, you about to make more money in poetry than you ever made in your life, right? From poetry. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit is amazing, bro. And I want you to know I'm proud of you because that shit, because I know I'll be on you. I know it. You know what I'm saying? And I think we have to let each other know when when we're making progress,
Mhm.
So
right?
do you feel like it's received differently now though? I feel like I mean I've always been receptive to conversations with you, but I feel like it's more like I'm internalizing it more now that we're like I don't know, we've turned the corner or something. I don't know, but I feel like it's just different now.
I think you are executing now.
That could be it too.
I don't think you was executing me. I think you listened to me. You respected what I said, but I still, and I'm not in your head, but I still feel like you made an excuse as to why you wasn't going to do what I suggested, or why your way was the right way. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever the case, like
Right.
however it made sense to you in the moment.
I asked that just because I think maybe I'm hearing it different now. Maybe it's not a matter of
Yeah, you're ready. You're probably closer to ready. You're ready to receive it now. That's what I'm saying.
Bro.
And before you just weren't ready to receive it. Like that's just we all have our time, man, and that's why, you know, you don't know when something's gonna land with somebody.
Mhm.
That's why, like, if you surround yourself with the right people, you're gonna hear the same messaging. You may hear it different from Prentice as you hear it from me, but it doesn't matter because the messaging is still being the message is still being delivered.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like we can't decide as the messenger when this person is going to receive it. We just have to continue to repeat the message. You know what I'm saying? And that's why your circle is important, because I could be pounding you with information, and you can leave me and go to the block and be the number one dude on the block. And you're like, man, what Bell's talking about, man? Like I'm the shit. You know what I'm saying? But in reality, you're the shit compared to who?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's why your circle, that's why the growth is important, man, because getting out of that comfort zone, you know what I'm saying? And that's where you was at, Chief. Like that's where you was at, bro. You was doing well. Like let me just be very clear, y'all. Like he ain't never been broke. You know what I'm saying? He'll just pluck some money up if you let him. Like
You can't even say fuck it up. I've spent it on shit that I just wanted to, you know what I'm saying, rather than putting it where it would, you know what I mean? Whatever. Anyways, go ahead. But back to that circle conversation, just real quick, P, and you can jump in. Your circle got to be tight. Yo, on my way home today, I talked to you, Oss, Prentice, and my mama on the way home today. And it was just like, and when you said that, I'm just like, yo, that's crazy because like you guys are the ones I bounce my shit off of. You know what I'm saying? My circle was tight. We all moving in a good direction, and that's just how it's flowing. You know what I mean? Like, so tighten up your circle.
I think it's a good way to segue into like recognizing your growth. Like it can come in different ways. I think that's like perfect example. Like Bill can keep telling you the same thing for the last 3 years, but you got to be doing something fucking different in order to interpret the information. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's the part we can't leave out. Like Bill said, he's been saying it and saying it and saying it, and you got your reasons, but clearly off camera, wherever, you're doing something that has you regurgitating this information differently and then putting it out. You know what I mean? So I really think like everything is connected. Like your body is a filter. So you got to clean out some of that shit in order to receive information. And it could be, like you said, I could be saying it different, but it's the same information. You just have to reprogram yourself to receive it.
Nah, for sure. Side note, nigga, stop telling my mama my business. She called me today I talk to Bell more than I talk to you, but I don't even talk to you about the podcast anymore. I just text Chris and I'm just like, she's like, was he talking about this contract for? I'm like, yeah, ma. Stop telling my mama my business, B.
Hey, put your business all out there in front of your mama.
Peaches might be our biggest fan, man.
She absolutely is.
She's tapped in every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, but that's growth, though, right? Because I'll give you another example. Even today, you know what I'm saying? Like even myself before, I could give you a backhanded compliment.
Mm-hmm.
I could be like, Chief, you doing your thing, but don't go out there and fuck it up.
Right.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like
we good for that shit.
You gonna fuck it up.
We good for that shit.
Yeah, and
we good for that shit.
Yeah, and we're necessary too, because when he hit me the other day about getting the contract, he said some stupid ass shit about, yeah, man. Well, I gotta kill this first one first, or it may not go. Some shit. Like, like, nigga, come on, bro. And I had to be like, well, I had to say how much he was making to remind him, like, bro, this is locked in, and it's only fucking February. There is no, no, nigga, you got it.
It's there.
Go with it.
You're right. It is there. Yeah.
So sometimes we still got to untrain ourselves from doing that down talk shit.
Yeah.
And that's why you need your homies to be like, I'm proud of you via the text, or be like, like the hype.
So,
go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you what that is, though, bro. Right? So what you just said, Prentice, that's that survival mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that's that survival mentality. Like we so used to surviving, bro. Yeah. We can't even recognize when we up.
Nigga, that's a new topic. We gotta talk about that next week.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
like,
next week.
We can't even recognize when we up, man. Like that shit's such a learned behavior. That the conditioning is so real. You know what I mean? But that's why it's growth, right? That's why we have to have these open conversations, because our words matter, right? I say something to Chief, I say something to UP. Like my intentions can be like up and up. I don't know how those words impact you. But this is why we have to have open dialogue.
Side note, I'm also, another thing that y'all might, be pat a brother on the back for. I have a conference tomorrow with this wedding planning company. I might be signing with like a company, and I'd be like the official officiant for their event. So when something goes down, like, yeah, we got a guy. Like, they have like an all package deal. Like it's like, you know, the wedding planning, the transportation, and, you know, all that in one. So I have a conference tomorrow at whatchamacallit, so that should be cool. So then the price goes up on that too, which is pretty freaking dope. By the way, if you're getting married, you need an officiant, holla at your boy.
You real Caribbean.
I will, but I'm gonna hit you up in November.
Word. Yo, also, I think
Prentice, sign the contract now, bro. Sign the contract now.
Right.
Before you get too big, man.
Yo, so I was thinking about that when I asked like about me receiving it and or hearing it where you delivering it a different way. One of the things we talked about was, when are you accurate versus when are you lying to yourself in terms of recognition of this growth?
You want me to tell you?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, absolutely.
So I read this quote years ago. I don't, forgive me, I don't remember who said it. The quote was, put your head down and work, and somebody will let you know when you're successful.
Bang.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, we tell ourselves shit all the time, right? Could be true, could be false. I think your growth is just like working out.
I swear to God, I was just about to say that.
Like, you can't see your results right away. You personally, you're with yourself every day. But then you bump into somebody, damn, Chief, I see you. Okay, it's working. Right? So I think, not that we need validation from somebody else, so please hear me clear. But what I'm saying is, we're being true to ourselves when we're sticking to the script, whatever the script is that we wrote for this growth path, right? And the results will come. You may not see them right away. Somebody will see them before you. But that's that. Outside of you sticking to the script, you might be lying to yourself.
Yeah, and I piggyback off that shit. Like, using the gym reference, sometimes you can be in the gym and you gotta flex in the mirror just to remind yourself you're on the right path, right? Or just to remind yourself that something's there. There's a body part you're working on, and you have to do that in order to kind of motivate yourself and encourage yourself to keep going. But if you find yourself constantly flexing in front of the fucking mirror, and like you said, nobody else is talking about anything about your growth or progress, there's a good chance that you may be feeding yourself too much, that you need to be fed like outside.
And the gym mirror give you 10 pounds anyway. Hey, so you really out here fooling yourself.
Hey, it might, man, but I agree with that. I think it's when the outside world, or those people in your circle, the people who matter, you know, are able to pick up on it, man. I agree. I would agree.
I think, but just like anything, man, it's a happy balance, right? Because, and this may be the next level to this, but one could also start, you know, reading his own press clippings and rest on their laurels. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say it's important to have a plan.
Elaborate on that a little bit, Bill. Can you?
Yeah. So what I mean is, right, boom, I have my head down. I'm busting my ass. Now everybody's recognizing it, right? And let's just say I'm coming from a place where I'm not used to receiving recognition, right? Like, for whatever reason. So now I start thriving off the recognition. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, this one said, I'm the shit. I'm gonna take this day off. You know what I'm saying? I'm the shit anyway, right? And then you start believing what everybody's telling you, not realizing that they're telling you this because of the work that you put in. Like, you're not done. You see what I'm saying? Like, my coach used to call it reading your own press clippings or swallowing the poison, right? And the poison is somebody complimenting you all the time, and then you start soaking all of that up, and again, forgetting what got you to the place to receive those compliments. So that's all I'm saying. It's like, you're going to, like, if you're working at something, I don't care what it is, if you want to be the best pianist and you're putting the time in, the progress will be recognized, right? The question is if you're going to continue, right? Like, what's the goal? What's ideal state? You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's all. And again, this may not be tangible. We're talking about growth, right? Like this may be emotional. This may not be tangible. It may not be like once I get to this weight, like I'll be good. Like that's not it. When it comes to feelings, thoughts, emotions, it may not be tangible. But if you're working on areas within yourself, have measurement points, right? Like as you're doing the work, there are going to be some tangible things you can measure.
It's good.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense, man. It makes a whole lot of sense.
For sure. I think for us to be like going off the cuff most of the time and like, quick run through before we start the show. I think we dive into some deep conversation and throw a bunch of gems out there, man. I really hope y'all picking them up because it does me justice after every episode. So
real quick though, you know what that is though, bro? That means there's a lot of shit in our subconscious that we're not talking about. Like, so a person that's real close to me, he doesn't do well with his emotions. So my other man suggested is like, yo, why don't you just talk? Right? You just talk about like what's on your mind right now. Because then it becomes real.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not like we catch up before the show and brainstorm. All this shit is already in our mind, right? But it may be way in the back and it has to be provoked.
Right. Right.
You see what I'm saying? And a lot of this shit has to come out. And the challenge is sometimes it never comes out. Right. So then it festers and then it becomes something that it doesn't need to be if we were just forthright, or I shouldn't say forthright, if we just had a platform, a space, a person that we could have healthy, safe conversations with. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all this is, man. This isn't like we're not different in the sense that we all ponder on things, right? We all have ideas, we all have thoughts, we all have things that are going through our mind that may not even be conscious thoughts. But when provoked, now they become conscious thoughts. Now they become real thoughts, right? And what they say is like, thoughts are things, right? So what you're thinking, you're becoming. You see what I'm saying? So it would be good to know what that is, right? Because some of these subconscious thoughts, we don't even notice they're happening. So that's all, man. That's what this dialogue provides. This dialogue provides exposure to kind of what's going on in our heads. And listen, guys, we're not special. I promise you, you sit down with a group of your guys, you're gonna have similar conversations when you start going there. That's all. So I don't know. I just went on a little rant, but I thought that was important to note that we just have to have a space where we can feel comfortable having this conversation, this level of conversation.
For sure. Safe space and all that. So, I mean, Bell, just keep that going and close us out. What's your final thought, man?
My final thought is you need some form of therapy more than you realize it, right? Whether it's formal or just conversation with your guys, because that's the only way we get better, right? We have to talk about these things that we're dealing with, because I don't give a damn who you are. You're dealing with something. You're dealing with something, right? And you're not alone. And more often than not, some of the closest people around you may be dealing with the same thing, and nobody ever knows because nobody talks about it. But if you guys spoke about it, you can get through it together. You know what I'm saying? So that's all. I just encourage conversation. Maybe that's a better word instead of therapy. I encourage conversation. We need it more than we realize.
It's okay to not feel like you know what you're doing in the process, man. I don't think you're supposed to know what you're doing. It sounds weird, but you're not supposed to know what the fuck you're doing. Like, this is new, this is uncomfortable, it's foreign, it's growth. So it's okay not to know, but again, you'll get confirmation from one place or another. You just got to be open enough to see that shit. You know what I mean? It may not necessarily come from where and who you want it to come from, but when it comes, be receptive of that shit so you can keep the ball moving. That's my final thought.
Real quick on that, I love that, what you just said. It may not come from who you intended to come from.
Yeah.
Right? But it doesn't mean it's not working.
Right. Chief's
Like,
just
that
ended
shit
this
is-
contract. You know what I'm saying? There may be something else he was focusing on these past couple of months, some inner work, but you may have been rewarded via this contract. You know
That
what I'm
shit
saying?
is deep. That shit is deep because some people will, if they didn't receive the validation where they thought they needed it from, they may invalidate everything that they've done to that point. You see what I'm saying? Like, I have a personal example, friend of mine that's like that. Like, and that's just deep. That's just deep.
Yeah, definitely guilty. For me, fellas, I'm gonna go with. I mean, we threw a lot of gems, but I think what stood out to most to me was get yourself an accountability partner / circle. Get yourself an accountability circle, and when they identify things that you may be uncomfortable with, take heed to that and apply what they're saying to your life. Because I think more often than not, the people who see certain things in you are feeding you to be better, and oftentimes we're reluctant to take that in. So if you got a group of people in your corner that are willing to push you and help you propel, listen to them. Put your pride aside.
Or at minimum, seek to understand.
At minimum. Yo, I like it. We rolled through this joke. It was dope. It was for Pete said when I talked to Pete, like, yeah, I want to get a little lighter. I felt like that was kind of, it wasn't really heavy, but it was, it was real. It's definitely real. It's definitely real. All right, per usual, y'all. We on all social media outlets at All Black Men Need Therapy. Email us at allblackmenneedtherapy@gmail.com. Per the ending of every episode, do us all a favor and hug a black man today.
It's Black History Month. Do it.
And tomorrow.
And when it's not Black History Month, still do that shit.
We out, y'all.
Peace.